your voice is the one heard the loudest and maybe the most frequently.
Provides knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
Seeing him be successful, grow, healthy, be safe, be educated.
A man who may not have had a father, who has went above and beyond to figure out what it is to be a father.
Being there for him, cherishing those moments.
Someone who supports their child no matter what.
Is passionate about being a father, passionate about being there for their children, however they could be there,
Everybody has a responsibility to leave this world just a little better than they found it. And I believe that a good father raises children to be better than him.
Active participation is the basis of good citizenship. Don't you kids realize that the habits you form here at home are the ones you're going to take with you into your community life?
So I think you've got barriers in terms of the medical system. I think you have barriers in terms of the educational system. I think the approach we take to trying to get fathers to be involved is we start to work with them after they've had a child. I think the teachable moments really begin years before they have a child.
I was one of those kids who was always angry. Didn't know why I was angry, Didn't know why I was angry, but just had this, explosive anger about myself. And when I got to be, my late 20s, I started to understand why I was so angry, And it's not having a father now. And when I had my son, my whole life changed because all I wanted to do was just be there for him.
I've been so motivated over the years to get involved in fatherhood programs because I've seen that this idyllic situation, this almost 1950-esque romanticized version of the family, which was my experience, was unfortunately a unique one. To give you a sense of how important my father was in my life. When I got married 26 years ago, I asked him to be the best man. And looking back on it, the best decision that I could have made in terms of who should be there in that position at that critical juncture in my life. Well, the first of the fatherhood programs that I helped to start was the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood. I was a state legislator at the time, and I was asked to attend a symposium in Cleveland, Ohio, to improve their relations with their families, to strengthen their parental skills. And we quickly found that the state of Ohio was doing absolutely nothing in that respect. When the then governor of the state of Ohio, Bob Taft, in his budget bill, offered a provision to set aside some funding to help low-income, non-custodial fathers secure job training and employment.
I really support my friend Peter Lawson Jones in the state legislature, and he came up with this idea to focus the spotlight on the importance of fatherhood by creating a state commission on fatherhood. And we embraced it as governor. We put it in the budget with bipartisan support.
I asked Al Grimes to kind of head up this effort, and we established the Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative.
My father was my hero. My father was a real inspiration to me. And I've always said that at the end of the day, if my children feel about me and my grandchildren feel about me the way that my children felt about my dad, their grandfather, I'll be a blessed person. And what we do is we bring dads in who have a myriad of different problems because we know how important it is for fathers to be involved in children's lives. You know, research tells us that when fathers are involved in children's lives, they're less likely to live in poverty. They're less likely to do poorly in school. You know, they're less likely to do drugs, less likely to become teenage parents themselves. They're less likely to commit suicide. We have the 12 programs that we fund. We have a boot camp for new dads program at 7 hospitals, where if a dad is a new dad or an expected dad, he can come to our boot camp for new dads program, learn how to handle a baby safely.
I'm gonna have you guys here for 3 hours. 3 hours, you can see everything a baby does. Eat, sleep, and poop. This is what your life's gonna be like.
The fathers that bring the babies are the vets. They were at boot camp before when their babies were still inside mom. And so this is a class that is very comfortable, very relaxed, and just for dads.
I think the hardest thing is making sure men feel welcome, and the support of the father is absolutely key. They're good for their families, they're good for their kids. Sometimes they don't even know it.
Daddy Boot Camp's a big organization. It actually started out in California. So right now, if you actually think about across the country, there's a group of guys sitting in a classroom just like this, going through this exact same thing.
I enjoy this program so much because I love seeing the guys walk in that don't really want to be here in the morning, but yet they walk out going, you know what, I can handle this whole fatherhood thing. I can do this.
There's no women allowed because we as women have a tendency to see a guy putting a diaper on, maybe a little crooked, and we'll say, give me that kid, you're doing that wrong. Well, our philosophy in there is if it's on crooked with duct tape, if it holds what comes out of the other end, it's on right.
These are the tools of every daddy's trade. All right. Come on, let me change your panties. Come on. You gotta let me change your panties.
No.
It's stinky.
No.
It's yucky for your booty.
No.
Come on, let me change your panties.
No. No.
You first have your children, they don't tell you you're gonna have to negotiate to wipe someone's ass. Oh, the camera? Oh. Let's put these new panties on. And see, you win as a parent, right? I win. This is what I win. This is my prize.
Those stereotypes are broken down in this classroom.
I think that's a key factor of why the boot camp class works, is it's by guys, it's for guys, and it's all about guys.
The child's life. You know, as you get older in life, you realize there's no second chances. But when a child is born, it only happens once. You know, when they crawl for the first time, it only happens once. When they say their first words, it only happens once. So if you're not there during that time, establishing that relationship with your child and with the mother of your child, you know, you've missed a magical moment. At the end of the day, you know, if we're not making a difference, you know, in individuals' lives, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I think every generation has a fresh start. And when I have a child, it's a fresh start. You can make it as wonderful as you want it. I think the definition of a father would be more accurate is to ask my kids what a definition of a father is. All I know is that it's my all. I mean, it's what I'm doing. It's what I'm doing. It's literally in my life what I'm doing. I am a father. I am a father.
I don't know that words can explain being a father. You know, it's one of those things that
everyone tells you you don't understand it until you actually become one. It's the greatest feeling that I've had personally in my life. You know, I put my marriage up there, but the birth of my daughter, because of the overwhelming responsibility and the commitment that comes with it, and there's no better feeling than that.
For years, there's been a misnomer that dads don't want to be involved with their kids, especially in the African American community, especially around school-based activities. But over the past 4 years, we've been able to prove that wrong. This opportunity today, this activity today was a great opportunity to show that dads do want to be involved, they do care. They want the opportunity to engage with their daughters and their sons. A father will shape for his daughter her future. He sets the example of the kind of man that she should seek after. He sets the example of what she should expect from a man. He sets the example of how a daughter should be treated. So, that's crucial, especially in today's society, where women and young ladies are accepting anything from men.
My oldest daughter got married in February of last year. So we're all getting ready for the wedding. My daughter tells, all of the bridesmaids to leave the room, My daughter tells her mom to leave the room. And then my daughter says, now go get my dad. I walked into the room and I looked in her eyes and she was gorgeous. And we got a chance to spend some precious, precious time before I walked her down the aisle.
We were father and daughter. We were friend and friend. And he had such a love for me.
Never underestimate the value that you have in your children's lives. They need you desperately.
So when I think about the children that I see at the juvenile court, and when I don't see them coming in with a father, it greatly concerns me, and I always ask, when's the last time you had a conversation with a person's father?
Being there, being supportive, being loving, being a part of their lives, it's all they want.
Grew up, got to college, At the time I didn't know what would be the love of my life, My wife, Teresa, of 19 years. We'll be married 20 years in April. And we didn't plan it, but we conceived my daughter. It was a little different the second time around. Unfortunately, I was not in the delivery room for my daughter, but I was there this time. And I wish I had been there when my daughter was born. But I wasn't. It was a couple hours late. But I was there when he was born. And he's 18 now. He's got a beard.
I always joke around with people because I find it funny. I go out and we'll do things and I get people saying, oh, I can't believe you're out with your son. I can't believe you're taking him here. I can't believe you're taking him there. And I just find it odd. It's my son. We're going to go wherever we want to go.
Is that important to you?
Yeah, it's very important to me to develop those relationships. And I think it's important for our family dynamic.
Fatherhood began with your father. For good or bad, your father influenced you in some way to push you to be the type of father you want to be now.
My full name is Jonathan Lee Pike. Occupation, as of right now, honestly, would be recovering alcoholic. Through my complete and utter lack of any thought about anybody other than myself, I went down a road I shouldn't have went down and decided that everything was just getting completely and totally destroyed by my drinking. And I did not want to put my family, specifically my wife and my daughters, through that hell anymore. So I walked from Columbus to here and turned myself into a recovery program. By the time I got to Cleveland, I had a clarity of mind and a straightforward idea of what I needed to do. And, I've been doing that ever since I got here. And it's the best decision I ever made in my life.
When I was a teenager, going through what I was going through with my father, you kind of tell yourself, I ain't never gonna do what he did to me. His way of, showing me stuff was showing me street stuff, pushing, women on me when I'm like 7, you know what I'm saying? Sticking joints in my mouth when I'm like 9, I was drinking at a young age, because him and my uncles, it was cool, and they didn't mind. I had 4 children. It's nothing like being a father, and that unconditional love you get from your children.
When she was born, I was already in prison, and I did it all the time, and once I got out, she was already a young woman, and all that time in between, I was not there, and she only knew me through the phone and pictures, and it's not easy to relate to somebody that you don't really know.
My father was what I would consider a great father. He was attentive. He was with us, with us our whole lives, and he just taught us a lot of good lessons, I guess. And that's what sort of I try to do with my sons. But I think he gave me everything that I needed to move forward in life. From your father, how to become a father. I think that's, I don't know where else you learn but that. I think that's the most, common way of learning how to become a dad.
The only thing I can think of was, what would my father do? And I began to see what he did, and I began to follow and do almost exactly what he did. So he cut like a pattern for me. Now, I had to put the buttons and the belt and everything on that pattern, but it worked out for me.
I think the most successful father would be one who has healthy, happy children who respect and love him and who have their own car. I really think that the bottom line as a parent is, are you content in your heart? Is your life good?
Growing up, my dad was a little bit hard because there were 5 of us, and we were pretty boisterous and pretty loud, and so I think I always felt like we were driving him crazy all the time, probably because we were. So it was kind of hard growing up. He was always worried about money, always worried about, and he didn't talk about it a lot, but I could tell he was worried about finances. But now as an adult and with kids of my own, I have this deep appreciation for my father. And the stress that he had, he never was a rich man, still is not, but the stress and the energy that takes just to make sure your kids are fed and just to make sure there's a roof over their heads, and he always did that. It was rough growing up because I don't think we understood each other. I don't think he understood me. I don't think I understood him. But I think through having my own kids and having to provide for them, I think we really sort of came to a lot of common ground.
Fathers, generally speaking, are seen as providers of resources, particularly money, and then secondarily as physical protectors. The activity of fatherhood is far more complex and important. The oldest son was here last weekend, and he has a 13-year-old daughter. Listening to her and watching them interact, I said, okay, this is good stuff. I don't know where he got that from, but I know I had something to do with that, so I'm doing okay.
We've been funding at the Fathers and Families Together program for the past 5 years, I believe. And I think it's a twofold objective there. One is to help fathers prepare healthier foods, to prepare healthy foods for the children. And the second thing is, just the interaction between fathers and their children in a constructive activity. So I think those are the kind of moments that fathers need too.
If you do vegetables for yourself, for your family, for anybody else, try to either do it fresh or do it frozen. Try not to do it canned because of the sodium content.
Cooking with Dads, we work with Cleveland Clinic, and Cleveland Clinic comes in and talks to the dad about nutrition, the importance of what to feed your kids, how they should be fed, the importance of health, food and health for not only themselves, but their children. Nowadays, we have a large obesity problem within children, and so we're trying to get dads to get a handle on that. Believing in service, I knew that I could provide these men whatever it is that they were looking for and whatever they need, and I would provide it at 110%.
These programs, all of them, play a very, very important role
in the lives of men that might not be reached, again, through more traditional kinds of programs. And I think it's unique to know that this is a voluntary program. These men aren't mandated to come to our program.
We need to go in and begin to think about how do we, instead of isolating these young men, how do we begin to pull them back in a way that we can expose them to the positive role models, we can help them learn what it means to be committed to a child.
This was actually their first time near a stove. They don't even make cereal bowls. I do that, so. It's a little break for me, but a little growth for them too.
I think a successful father is a father who contributes to the development of a successful kid. A dad who spends time in a certain way, and probably most importantly, I think a dad who makes his child a priority.
The thing that probably most angers me when it comes to lack of fathers in our culture is dads who say, you know what, I'm busy, I have my career, I don't spend a lot of time with my kid, but when I do, it's quality time. I think quality time is the greatest myth in our culture. Kids don't need quality time, they need quantity time. He needs dad right now. And so there's this myth out there that as long as I give him quality time for that hour a month I spend with him or that 4 hours a month I spend with him, everything's okay. It's not okay. It's absolutely not okay.
My parents divorced when I was 2.5 years old. And I can still remember in my elementary school class, there were about 32 kids in my class, I was the only one with divorced parents. I was the only one who didn't have a father living with me. And you look at today, we just had this significant societal shift. So I think to just say, let's blame a group or let's just target a group, you're not going to get at the issue. It's much bigger. It's much broader than that.
I used to drink a lot. And while I was drinking, I was really selfish. I could have been a better father. I could have stayed married to my first wife, could have stayed out of trouble, could have not drank as much.
My father was a good man. I think he's a little hard on himself. In retrospect, looking back, he thinks that he could have done things a little better. And I think we all feel like that throughout life. I don't really remember a lot of my parents ever really being together. My mom and my father divorced when my sister and I were 2 and 3.
I started dating my current wife who had 2 children. And I walked into a situation to where they were teenagers and some difficult times.
Matt was having a tough time and, just getting through school and staying in school and, making it work, and he was in trouble. I couldn't understand how somebody would voluntarily walk into the situation.
At that time when she was dating him, I didn't need another man in my life. I'm 14, 15 years old. You're not my dad.
It helped me know that there are some good men out there.
Very thankful that, I had my father there, and I also had, Mark to be a father that he didn't have to be.
It's hard to bridge past and present and future. You're trying to close the past because you've had a divorce, you have children from a divorce, 1, 2, doesn't matter. And then you're living in the present, you're trying to do the best you can to expose your children, hold your children, protect your children, but then you want to build something. So it's always nice when you have an opportunity to do that.
The thing I remember most about you when I first met you was your mom had her back towards you and she was looking at me and you were behind and you were sticking your tongue out at me. I said, this little knucklehead. It was just something about you I just liked. I just thought you were a great kid, and that's so I just wanted to be a part of that life.
For a long time, I didn't have a father, but eventually the man that came and raised me was Carl Chancellor.
So I didn't want kids at all. And once they came into my life, it just changed my whole outlook. It gave you a reason for living.
I think the hardest part when I'm growing up is like learning that people make mistakes, you know? And like, but the hard part being a father is like trying to be that perfect example, you know? Right now, it's real touchy, you know? Because I think he knows now that he lost his time, you know, to be my dad.
I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, still making mistakes, but the main thing, I just want my kids to know that I'm there for them when they need me.
He's not like a father, you know? He's like a dude, like a cool dude.
My way of looking at it really has to do with, you know, this man chose to be my father, so I see him in a different light, per se, than my younger brother would, who is like, that's his biological father, which means that he shouldn't have a choice in parenting.
And if there's one thing I want my children to come away with after I'm gone, is to have a feeling that I did love them. They know that they were loved. And they know that I believe in them. I've never seen my father. I'm 60 years old. I've never seen him, does not even know what he looks like. But I understand the value of a father. And I look at many of my friends that I grew up with gang banging, getting into trouble, using, selling drugs and all that kind of stuff as a result of not having a father in their life. And I think that the way I'm able to connect with them is because I know how important a father is.
You can't be a father in jail. You can't be a father dead. There's plenty of great fathers out here. We still exist. We still exist. It's true. All of the moments and the things that I wish my father was there for me, adolescence, just kind of growing up, figuring out what it is to do and how am I supposed to feel about certain things that I'm dealing with. I wish he was there, but I ended up finding great men in my life that are still in my life to this day to make up for that void that I had in him.
My dad was one of maybe 6 children. He just turned 90. He was a company guy and he had a job to do. He didn't take any days off to watch me play, or he didn't switch shifts to watch me play. And that made an impression on me. When Fran and I got married, we had Rob a year and 3 weeks later. I couldn't wait to be a dad. Brought him to everything. Took him to our car washes in Pennsylvania when our team went. He sat on a bench when he was 5.
He went from being my dad, and then as soon as he crossed over the baseline on a basketball court, he was Coach Pacey. As I grew older and when I played for him, I understood what profound impact he had both in my life and in the lives of those that played for him.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done before in my life is putting someone before yourself unconditionally. My brother's biological children, and my brother was in a bit of a trouble, and his girlfriend at the time was too, and my ex-partner at the time wanted children, and I was like hell. I didn't want kids. I didn't really have a desire for children, but my mother said that I should, and I did, and it has changed. It literally changed my life.
Now that I'm home and doing my recovery down here, it's just, like I said, a reminder. When I hear them every morning and get them up or whatnot, it re-solidifies everything that I know that I'm doing is right now. So I've done a lot of completely bonehead, ignorant things, and taking things that weren't mine, and acted like a complete moron most of the time. And to be honest, if I was her, I wouldn't have taken me back, to be honest with you. now that I've finished phase 1 in Cleveland and came here, you know, the recovery doesn't stop. I still get up in the morning and take a couple minutes to, you know, get a grip on the day and realize that I am in fact an addict and there's nothing I can do about it except get through the day and make sure that I am as good for my family as I can be without being that incredible boob that I used to be.
You know, we're a family. I married him. We gotta try to work it out. I mean, it's not just like, you know, we're breaking up or it's just me. You know, I have the kids and our lives to think about.
The recovery has to come before anything, because if, like I said, if I backslide on that, then there's no point in me even trying anymore, because I'll lose my family, I will lose everything that I've worked, you know.
At the church, and they offered this program about fathers getting closer to their children. I wanted to get closer to my daughter. I wanted to find a way to relate to her in a better way.
We started to provide medical case management, nutrition, and housing services. We also saw the need to work with the families.
We try to come alongside them and try to teach them, model, and highlight to them that it is really our responsibility as men to stay in the home. Most of what we do is training. Most of what we do is to provide them with educational tools so that they can make the right decisions.
Hola Edwin, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto. Estoy bien contenta de que estés aquí. El programa Papá para Siempre es un programa que estamos haciendo para facilitar información y apoyo a las personas para que sean mejores papás. Preguntas, ¿está bien contigo eso?
Now, with us, because we have the added issue of language, you know, many social service large agencies don't have the staff to translate. So what we do is our folks serve as translators, as interpreters, as actually cultural brokers.
You know, the financial literacy class, you know, just helps dads manage their money appropriately. I think we can all, from time to time, use some reminders on how not to get overextended credit-wise, how to make sure that on a regular basis, we're making sure that we're balancing our checkbook and making sure you differentiate between your wants and your needs.
It's a game. The finance game is a game, just like the game of Monopoly. And if you don't know the rules to the game, you can't win the game. So what I teach the gentlemen about, really it's supposed to be budgeting, understanding savings, understanding stocks and bonds, how all of those vehicles work. I know that I can't do that in an 8-hour workshop. So what I really try to do is to get them to think differently about how they spend money, how they think about money, and how they think about being consumers instead of producers. Knowledge is power, and if they know what it is that they should be doing about their finances, they can make better decisions.
If you don't have a plan, you're going to be that reactive person. And you're just going to be, you know, constantly trying to figure out how to stay above water versus planning how you need to get to where it is that you want to go.
I think general things that fathers need to learn financially would be that you have to talk to your children about money. You have to talk to your children about what bills are, what's the cost of things. If they're asking for something, let them know, I have to work 3 hours to be able to buy that for you. Let them understand the value of money. If I give you $25 for a toy, that's $25 we're not gonna have for groceries. That's $25 I can't put into an account for your college education. Children have to know that when you say yes to one thing, you say no to something else. If they can get that at home, it's a nice lesson to learn when you're younger.
You want to think about those things that you do and the choices that you make so that you can start thinking, okay, well, here's how I've been making choices. Here's how much that cost. Here's how much I make. And then I might need to make some adjustments one way or the other. So what's your total right now, just from?
It's around like $955.
Okay, so I think that's the bigger thing right now, is for you to continue to paint the picture that saving is the way to go.
What's the most challenging thing about being a parent?
Like my two daughters, when they make a phone call home, they don't even ask, is a man in the house? They say, is your mom home? They assume it's not a male figure in the home. So it's like I'm not even a factor. So I take that kind of like personal when I get a phone call. I'm like, well, this is the dad. Talk to me.
I used to apply for a job almost every day. I was hired technically a couple of times, but when my background came back, they shut me down. I had the experience, the skills. I'm a good worker. I'm not playing, I work. I like to work. I'm done with crime. I am done with crime. Being away for so long and having the record that I have, I was technically hired a couple of times. And when my record came back, they said they couldn't have me.
And so that's how you found yourself at Rising Above?
Yeah.
CDPS provides participants who are looking for assistance with workforce development and training with an opportunity to access resources that will help them to successfully transition into the workplace.
I am the person that's responsible for the classroom instruction as outlined by the program.
We have a curriculum, it's called Building a Business, and with any business, with anything that you build, you need a foundation. So we start with talking to the gentleman about what their foundation is, who they are, a little bit about their skill set, their expertise, their strengths and weaknesses, and from that, build a concept. We take that business concept, take them through the components of developing a business plan. They already have that skill set. They just need to try and figure out how to develop it into a business.
Fathers matter, and fathers really do want to take part in the upbringing of their children and be family folk.
I think Mr. Simmons is a great guy. I mean, you don't find people like that around a whole lot. You got a lot of guys that talk the talk, which is the easy way to gain whatever you want. But when you find somebody that really wants to help people, they go out of his way to help. They are rare. There are not many around.
You look at a guy who has become a father, and he lives in a community where there's no employment opportunities and no possibility for education to get to employment opportunities, and that's what we need to address. I think clearly one thing a father brings to a child is resources that employment can provide.
Passage is an organization that was founded approximately a decade ago for the sole purpose of helping fathers become involved in the lives of their children.
These are the people who have been pushed out, that nobody else would give a chance. These are the people of the margins.
Those were the individuals that I wanted to work with. Those were the individuals that I knew that if we could put a shirt and tie on,
They could become the inspiration of every father that would come through this organization.
I got into a little trouble, incarceration. That really cut the cake. That's not a place I want to be. I ran into Reverend Moore. Out of everybody, a stranger took hold of me, you know what I'm saying, and let me know what it really was. And I respect that man and love that man to death, because right now, I won't be a father. My kids be living without a daddy.
I was a prison chaplain, and I kept seeing this disconnect of young people who were incarcerated. So we designed a program, a curriculum that would help them sell their assets.
Yeah, you have to train. You have to increase the skill sets that you have so that you become more employable. Okay? You should have a career goal.
I goes out and I recruit the men. I explain to them, give them brochures about the program, and I don't go to them as a recruiter or go to them as a facilitator. I go to them as a friend, as a brother of the community, because once I was that brother. But the biggest piece is I always push the employment piece.
I teach a workforce development class. It's a class where we give guys the necessary tools on how to speak in an interview, how to conduct an appropriate interview, how to answer tough questions in an interview.
To the eyes of most employers, a felony is a felony. You know, it doesn't matter which kind it is. It can be theft or it can be murder. This stigma, man, that you get once you get that record, it's just something totally different. And I don't think people realize that, man. Only people like these type of organizations understand what we go through.
If I get close enough to a position where I do get the interview and that question comes up, you know, a lot of it is going to depend on how I answer that question. Ask one of your significant others, your loved ones, someone who's serious in your family to ask me that question, and I'm gonna give you an answer, and I need some honest feedback. Did I sound sincere? You know, how did I look when I said it? Because the more practice you have, you know, it start taking that uncomfortable feeling and the sweating and the stuttering over your words and the shifting and the old goatee grab and the look to the Lord, please Lord, drop an answer in my lap real fast because I'll be looking awkward if I got this long drawn out pause. You do what? You show remorse, you take ownership, and you talk about what have you done positive since then.
We're focusing on the task at hand, and that's finding employment. That's getting you to become a contributor to your family again. The commitment that we have towards each guy, it's not a numbers game. It's a real face and a real name and a real story.
The average end of this program costs approximately $1,000 to $3,000 per individual. But if we lock one individual up, it costs $25,000 a year. And that's just the cost for locking that individual up. It has nothing to do with what we're going to have to do to support their family while they're locked away. So the investment that our community has chosen to make in workforce development programs such as Passages is transformative.
I walked in and filled out an application. They called me the next day. That was in 1993. And as you can imagine, I never anticipated I was gonna be here this long. But I'm still here, and things are running well, so that's a good thing. This is not what I dreamed for myself, but at the end of the day, you do what you have to do. I'm appreciative to Metaldyne for what they've done for me, but I know that there's more out there, so it's important to me that they get their education. Obviously, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it does open up a lot of other doors for them.
Can I explain something to you about being a daddy? The daddy is the breadwinner. You dig what I'm saying? And if you don't win that bread, you just don't come around.
I think there needs to be an awareness shift to try to simplify our approaches. So you look at state law about non-residential fatherhood. We have states that have extensive systems in place to assure that we're collecting child support. We don't have anything in place to assure that father time with child is happening.
They keep sending me stuff in the mail that I owe, which I was paying at the time when I was working. But I told them I've been down there several times. Told them I ain't got no job. Then you suspend my license so I can't get nowhere to get a job. So that's just, it don't make no sense to me. If you want somebody to go out and get a job, to pay their child support, to see their kids, why would you suspend their license? You shouldn't be trying to help the person to find a job or do something. You know what I'm saying? So they can do what they're supposed to do to help their kids and keep the family going. Don't break the family away.
There needs to be some way that we figure out how that, even though you're behind in child support, that we stop suspending men's license. If your license is suspended, some employers checking your credit, and you have bad credit, and you don't have a job, and you've been in recovery, or you just simply been unemployed for the last 2 years, that's kind of hard to get employment, especially when you have folks that don't have, let's just say, that type of baggage coming with them to get employment. Eventually are going to probably end up in jail at some point. It's not servicing the child at all.
It's a win for them, a lose for me. If you don't pay it, eventually they'll come see you, take it to jail. So what you winning? What did you get out of? You separated from your kids again. But some stuff about this.
My oldest boy, clear up until the age of, he was 12, I paid child support. It was a struggle, I didn't like that. I felt beside myself and working as many hours as I could paying child support. I had to live with my sister, got into some legal trouble and ended up going away for a few years. And they're hurting. You know, I learned a lot.
I got tired of being in jail for child support. Told him, yeah, you might have to catch me the next time. I'm tired of these little breaks. Every time I'm about to get a job or every time I'm about to go try out for a team or do something, you come pick me up. It makes you not want to work sometimes. You know, it makes you not want to do anything sometimes. Like, you're making $8, $9 an hour and then most of it goes to child support. Eventually, you're tired. You're gonna get tired, bro. You wanna live too. I don't care who you are. You wanna live too.
I'm going through a situation now where a judge actually told me, well, if you come back in my courtroom, I'm gonna give you some days. Okay, so I asked him respectfully, okay, you're gonna throw me in jail for 30, 90 days. Okay, what are we accomplishing? You're gonna throw me in jail. Okay, I'm gonna come back before you in a month. Still may not have a job. You're gonna throw me in jail again. Now, you don't know the fact that I deal with my kids every day. So you're willing to take me away from my children over some financial matter.
Mothers don't need to hire attorneys to file a contempt action for child support cases, but the fathers need attorneys to file a motion to enforce a visitation order. And they can't afford the attorneys. Legal aid doesn't cover this.
It's a vicious cycle. And one of the things that really makes me sad is to see as many broken men come into my office because of this situation.
Child support is based on a calculation. For the person that the child lives with, the child support is not necessarily in dollars. It's in provision. The rent is paid, the mortgage is paid, the lights are paid, and there is consideration that there will be a contribution from the person who lives in that home to share what they have, and so it's a direct in-kind support to the child. The person who lives outside of the home is the one who pays the money in to make sure that the home and the needs of the child are met in that home.
Child support legislation, federal legislation, came about in the 70s because of an explosion of babies being born out of wedlock.
Hello, Michael. Hello, Flo. Hello. Oh, kissing again, huh? That's nice.
The government felt it's its responsibility to try and do something about helping these children. So I think the intention was good back when the legislation was formed. But you're right, it is all about the money, and the best interest of the child somehow gets lost in this zeal or attempt to collect the money, which is what they're mandated to do with the federal legislation.
KeySource originally developed as a document preparation company back in 2003. We received funding to be able to educate fathers on how to navigate the court system and self-manage the preliminary matters of their existing cases. And primarily that would be child support, parental rights and responsibility.
A lot of fathers don't cherish the fact that they're a father. And my system, you know, is about money, so, you know, they can care less if you're a father.
When I got in court, I saw the judge sitting there, and then I saw like a whole full stack of magazines. At the time, the deal that I had, when I was on the cover of those magazines, I wasn't making the money that they were showing. And he actually made the determination on how much I was going to pay by looking at the magazines. They want to explain to you and say, you can come down here and we can straighten this out, and we can do this, and we can do that. Well, one time I went to straighten it out, they locked me up. So why, they spook you. Like, why would you see, when I even came down to do this interview, I said, what building we going to? I don't want to go to that building.
How do we begin to modify visitation orders? I would get rid of the term visitation altogether, because I would argue a father's not a visitor in their child's life. How do we begin to really think about what is the connection that should be there, and how should that play out, and how should that evolve as a child ages?
When I was in jail, I picked up the phone book and just started going through the pages, and I found Forever Dads. And I called my mom from jail and I was like, I want you to call this place and see what they're about, see if he can help me out or whatnot. And she got him to come down and meet me, and it was pretty much, after that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put a little faith in this guy. Sure enough, they come one day, hey, Garland, roll it up. I'm like, roll it up? I'm getting out of here? Get out of jail. And
Forever Dads is a community-based organization here in Muskingum County. Our purpose is very simple. It's to encourage, educate, and equip men to develop responsible relationships with their children, family, and community. We've gone through 40 to 50 years of lack of healthy role models of men fathering, being there in the game of life with them.
It's an amazing program. It teaches you, the things that you wanted as a child from your parents. I fell almost 25 feet off of a roof and landed on concrete and broke my hip. I landed on my hip, broke my hip and my hand. I've been off of work since July 22nd of 2010 because of the injuries, and it's been very rough.
I'm pretty much like a stay-home dad, just role reversal. I don't work, but I contribute more to the household. I walk both of my daughters to school every day, pick them up from school every day, do homework with them every day. I wouldn't trade the family time in for nothing. Just to be able to be there for them, because before I was working 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., and I never really got a chance to see them.
How do you feel about him being home?
I like it. Well, sometimes.
What do you think is the coolest thing about him?
That he spends more time with us than other dads do.
You feel that's more important than anything?
We're here at Judson Park, where my mom is staying. She suffered a stroke 2.5 years ago. Yeah. Come here and hang out with her for 2-3 hours and watch TV with her. You want to wave? I know. I told you I was going to get you. I know. It's okay. You can wave. You going to say hi?
I made the choice to take care of the kids. So it wasn't that I was forced to it. But I would say that I don't know why it has to be just a woman taking care of the kids. Especially these boys. I know they're getting a lot out of learning from me. It's a lot of work, but I think I'll look back at this and definitely feel good about the decision.
Being a single dad, and I'd always kind of joke about single moms, but then when I actually had to do it, it was tough. Then I had to give a lot of props to single moms because they hold it down. So, seeing a lot of these households without dads kind of discouraged me because I was like, where are all these dads at? But then when I would see like the mom and how good together they were, put, and how they worked the household without the dad, I didn't even question it.
Recently I had some health problems, so now I'm a stay-at-home dad. But, it worked out so that I can spend time with my kids. So I'm loving it.
The dad's role is often the one who supports achievement, education, accomplishment. And that's what we see in the museum. We see them nudging the children to try things or encouraging them, you can make that step, try it again. So I think they have an important role in helping kids achieve. Moms tend to protect more.
So many of these boys don't have positive role models to build on. Some of them live in families where there's not been an active, involved father for 3 generations. And they live in neighborhoods where those role models may be absent.
I think it'd be, it would behoove the media to make an effort to show good fatherhood. I think it would be nice to see more of that. They like to herald the bad. There's more drama in the bad than there is in the good.
It would be hard to count the number of sitcoms on primetime television that portray dads as morons. You go to most comedies, most primetime programs, dad is the idiot, dad's the moron. Let's make fun of dad. He's out of touch, he doesn't know what he's doing, he sits on the sofa and eats Cheetos all day. I think the media has done an incredible disservice to the culture because it's made it easier for guys to say, well, I'm not needed anyway. I don't make that big a contribution. I don't know if I can really help, so I'll just back out. And it gives dads an easier reason to disengage and not be part of the family.
I think that fathers are so important, and for as much as I want to say I'm a strong woman and a strong mother, I absolutely need my husband to be a father in my children's lives. I think that women, just by our nature, handle things differently, and I think men come from a different perspective, and I think it's so important that our kids get both.
But the best time of my life was raising my kids.
He was a phys ed teacher, and we grew up around sports, that was one way we kind of bonded.
The fathers are absentee, some are not there. They're there, but they're not there. They're like a ghost, an urban legend. You hear about them, but then y'all never really see them. Total contrast to how I grew up or how my friends grew up, because I would have to say I grew up in a middle class to upper class environment.
He had to work every day. He's working every day, but somehow, some way, I'd have a basketball game, and I would randomly look up in the stands. The first person I see was him.
Some of the input and guidance that my father gave me, and you're expected to take at a certain time, and you can back off. But I've discovered in this fatherhood business, you can't back off.
When I think in terms of my sense of fatherhood, or how I became a father, it is not just because of my father. I think it's because of, grandfather and great-grandfather. And so for me, fatherhood is not just one generation. It's 3 generations.
Today is David's 10th birthday. She's double digits. And she chose to have her party here because it's an indoor water park. Jonathan left. Today's the 3rd day he's been gone. He took some things that were his, he took some things that weren't his, and he just kind of disappeared. He had been acting like maybe a little bit funny earlier, and I thought he may have been high because his eyes were kind of, he looked half-baked.
How do you think, Pike being gone is affecting your daughter?
I know with Dava, she's old enough, and I did ask her about it this morning, and she said that she's a little bit sad that he's not going to be here, but that she's used to it, which really made me mad. But then Veda, the youngest, she's only 5 and she doesn't really understand. And she's the one who acted out a lot while he was at Whitehaven. And she's the one affected by it, I think, mostly because she is so young. She doesn't understand, no matter how many different ways I try to explain it to her. And she's definitely a daddy's girl. I want him to be able to come to their parties or graduation or, you know, stuff like that and actually be a productive member in their lives. Because no matter how much of a screw-up he is, he's still their dad.
Your first responsibility is to take care of those children. But if you're not taking the steps to be a sober parent, then you're not helping them.
I spent 25 years in prison, but not one behind steel bars, but one that separated me from being the whole father that I needed to be to my children in my own personal life of addictions and behaviors. And
I did the opposite of what Pike did. When I was drinking and using, I never missed an occasion. I never missed it because I thought that was my responsibility. And, you know, that may not have been the best thing at times. You know, they may not have wanted a drunk dad around.
You see, we really can't save the children until we save the fathers first.
I don't get to see you right now, but I see you every night in my dreams. I love you girls, and Daddy will be home soon.
Right now I'm blessed because I have a job through the FatherHood initiative. It's a pilot program, I guess he started. Trying to get some skills in carpentry and rebuilding houses and stuff. So.
Overall, life just a bump in the road I have to go through. Daughter just got promoted to the 5th grade, went to her little 4th grade graduation. That was good to see her moving forward. But on a not so good note, I don't think me and the mom are gonna make it, but I'm still trying to be a part of my daughter's life. Hopefully we can be co-parents if that's possible. If she'll meet me halfway on that, I think it'll be okay.
So Nate, how have you been since the last time we saw you?
Been pretty good. Busy, but good.
So what else is going on in your life now?
Well, my wife and I are expecting our 2nd child. So between school and him and work and growing family, pretty busy. What's funny is I'm the one that was hoping for a 2nd child quicker. We also lost a child before him. So it was 2 years in February. So going through that and then having him and having another one on the way puts a lot of things into perspective for us. To me, this is where I wanted to be. Like I said, I'm thinking 2, she wants 3, so we'll decide that later.
It's something obviously that every parent wants for their child. So to see him reach that point is, you know, it was an awesome day. So we had a good time. My in-laws were able to come up. You know, we were able to share that with our family. You know, but then on the other hand, it's like, you know, that he's in the beginning stages of like moving on. And so like when you really think about it, it's like you're happy for him, but it's just like this is our last child. So, you know, that makes it kind of bittersweet, but it'll be exciting to see what he does, you know, as he moves forward and he goes off the Bowling Green next year. I think he's excited about college life, and so, you know, as long as he goes and he keeps everything in perspective, I know he'll do fine.
I've been called by many titles during the course of my life, but Dad is the best of all.
My mission in life was to be there, you know. I'm sure every dad feels like this, but I was always determined to be there, to spend time with them.
To call yourself a father, you're not there for your children. To me, it's, you're not a father at all, you're another word. I'm gonna be there for him whenever he needs me.
And I don't know, I say it often enough, but I really do. I love you, all you guys.
I think I admire him as probably as much as he admires me.
Outside my wife, they're the most important part of my life.
I really do care for him, even though at times I think I'm the meanest person in the world.
There's nothing in the world that I won't do for them that's in my power.
I love you. Along with your mother, you're the most important things in my life.
You are my life, and I thank you for enriching that life as much as you have, and may you be as blessed with your children as I've been with mine.